已经开始了。哪连线？这个电脑吗？我这个电脑吗？你过来看，我哪一个？
一碰那些喇叭全部都是噼里啪啦。
哪条线？这条线啊。这档这可以，可以这样子。哪条线？开始放点音乐。那个凯米。
永活的神啊，我寻求你，我的心切慕你，如鹿切慕溪水。唯你是我心所求，是我的力量和盾牌。唯有你 是我心所爱。
那这个声音不是好像从这里播放出来的声音，不能这么说。你看这声音，它是从直接那个音箱传到那里。哎，你现在还有声音？哦，现在是吧？
我现在没声音了，我一下也听到了。
对对对，好，现在直接是从这里传出去。
我其实还是
那你用对。对对，你在那说啥 ？Hello， Good morning。哦。
你要把这里推出去，我们说话他听得到。
没事。
我跟你说他声音。
对啊。哦，是要把这个外音给关了吗？
你现在就知道，我就要从这个对吧？关键接触的那个过程，稍微有办法，对不对？不然为什么我跟你聊天，他还在？
有道理。
哦，对不对？还接触。
我看一下能不能关掉。
对。
麦克风，这内置的麦克风好像也关不掉。
这个外置的。
要
把外置的麦克风给关了。好。
那这个。来，那声音就很差了。
你外部也接受进去了。
你知道吗？这个就是声音，我想用这种内置的这种
内置的麦。
哦，我知道了，我这个没有，我这没。 刚刚是昨天睡得好吗？For speaker, because this one is for the air plug. This is the air plug, not the microphone. So I need that. Do you have that?
是我想拿我自己的电脑来看，但是你们要播放投影的。
那你可以了，那可以，他就帮你。
后面对，那他这个放在我的电脑。
Sorry, I don't have.
You don't have that.
Microphone, just
Okay.
headset.
Okay. Do you know how to solve this problem?
Not really.
No. So if we, okay.
But if you want the microphone, because I have the microphone here.
Yeah.
Here.
Yes.
But
If we want to use that, we need to have the microphone plug. Yeah. So maybe we should find maybe the other computer. This one.
大家对时间你测我是有多体重吗？你看我这个身高嘛，然后瘦的比我人在多高？
我
佢本嚟有字啊。我这回我也是啊，回去有情绪之后就帮我你的头像来上去。
一首歌谁？都是伊朗还没请。好。
Probably gonna hold my tea. Did you decide?我来用中文导断他灵修啊。好，天父，我们感谢你，感谢你今天早上赐给我们一个新的一天，让我们重新，我们能够心意更新来亲近你。主要求你在今天早上的时间，你给我们不但是外边的阳光，让我们心中更加看见你自己这道真光。让我们借着今天早上一开始，我们弟兄姐妹相聚在一起的时候，主要你话语的那第一道亮光就照亮我们黑暗的心灵，好让我们真实能够今天能够亲近你。主要我们这一生最大的事情就是来亲近你，来敬拜你，来爱你，来服侍你。所以你了解我们的软弱，我们实在是离不开你。我们知道自己的黑暗罪孽，我们知道自己离开了你，我们一定走不出一条正路。我们唯有每时每刻常常来亲近你。我们尽管常常的愿意亲近你，但是我们立志行善由得我，行出来真的由不得我们。 主，我们借着弟兄姐妹互相的鼓励，我们来到主你的面前，来向你唱出哈利路亚的赞美。谢谢恩主与我们同在，听祷告，奉耶稣基督得胜的名求，阿们。
早上好。
Good morning. Good morning.
It's early. This is early for me. I wake up early, but I don't actually think this early.
早上我起来的很早，但是我不认为很早。
So as I was praying about what to share this morning, I really sensed God wanted me to talk about faith.
当我早上想如何祷告的时候，我想主是让我就是真正的让我想是讨论那个信仰的问题。
So I want to define what I'm referring to first, or give a definition.
就是说，首先我就是来定义我所指的是什么，然后我会给出定义。
So let's read Hebrews 11.
让我们一起阅读希伯来书，然后 chapter 那个11章。
So Hebrews 11 verse 1.
第1节。希伯来书。
Do you have it that you can read it? Or can you read it? So when I thought about the definition of faith, for me, this is the perfect verse.
当我在想有关于这个信仰的问题的时候，信心的时候，我想这个是最好的解释。
But then what exactly is it referring to?
但是它真正代表的意思是什么呢？
Does it mean that if I believe God will give me $1 million, is that what it's talking about?
如果我相信是代表着我就会有100万美元或者100万人民币，这真的主所说的吗？
If my hope is that God will give me a Tesla or BMW, is this the kind of faith that the writer of Hebrews is talking about?
这难道是真的是那个就是希伯来书那个作者所提到的吗？然后我信主了，然后主就会给我带来特斯拉，然后那个大众这宝马车。
What about, is it referring to God protecting me physically from harm?
这是否是意味着就是说那个主能够保护我免于受伤害呢？
That no matter what I do, God will keep me safe.
就是无论我做什么，然后主都会使我安全。
I would say the answer is no.
但是我想说这个答案是不是的。
I think what the writer is telling us is that this kind of faith is putting our total trust in God.
作者想说的是，就是把我们的信心完全寄予上帝。
That we rely entirely on His provision, on His strength, and that He will do the work in and through us.
这是意味着是我们把我们的所信的，然后寄托于上帝的预示，然后对。
And that this faith also is connected to obedience.
这个信心也和那个遵循上帝的训示有关，顺服于上帝。
So just because I am a Christian does not automatically mean that God provides for me.
虽然说我是一个基督徒，但这不自动的意味着就是说我就能得到上帝所给予的。
Because I believe obedience also has to be part of the faith.
但是我认为来说，就是驯服也是这个信心的一部分。
So as we obey God, we have faith that He will take care of everything.
当我们驯服于上帝的时候，上帝会替我们考虑所有的事情。
Let me say that differently. When we obey God in faith, we believe God will, that the results that happen, that God has control of that.
Can you repeat it again? Sorry.
So that when we, now I have to think about what I just said. Sorry, when he starts talking, I start thinking of the next thing. So when faith and obedience work together, I'll just have to say it a little differently.
当信心和顺服在一起做工的时候，
And so when we obey, we trust God with the results of our obedience.
当我们顺服于上帝的时候，我们也相信这个顺服给我们带来的结果。
We trust that He will provide,
我们相信他会供应，
that He gives us the strength,
他会给我们力量，
and that His purpose for our obedience will happen.
他在我们顺服的旨意上会成就。
We also have to believe that no matter what happens to us, that there is a plan that God has.
我们同样也相信，不管是什么事情发生在我们身上，都有上帝的旨意。
Faith will bring difficulties.
信仰会给你带来一些困难。
When we walk in faith and obedience, I promise you difficulties will come.
当我们在顺服和信心当中前行的时候，我向你保证，你肯定会有困难和挑战。
I say that because I think we often want to walk by faith, but we want the results to be always good.
我说这个是因为我们经常会想，当我们在信心中前行的时候，我们总会盼望，会有对我们来说有益的结果。
And so sometimes faith seems illogical.
有的时候我们的信仰会让人感觉到有一些不是那么符合逻辑。
And I'll give you some examples in a few minutes.
我给你一些例子。
It will, I said it'll bring it will bring challenges.
我说的困难，也就是说挑战。
You know, to the world around us, when we obey God, it doesn't make sense.
对于外部世界来看，顺服于上帝，不是那么合情合理。
And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't make sense to other Christians.
不幸的是，同样它也会对一些基督徒来说也是不是那么合理的。
They will question us. They will challenge us.
他们会质问我们，会挑战我们。
They will say God does not work that way.
他们会说，上帝不是那样工作的。
But the truth is, when we look at examples, we see God calling His people to do things that we often think are crazy.
当上帝呼召一些人去做一些事情的时候，我们有可能会觉得他们是疯了。
So I could keep talking about faith in this manner. I think the best way to explain what I'm talking about is to give you examples.
我想的是顺服和信心，但是我觉得最好是给你们一些例子。
So let's think about examples in the Bible.
让我们一起来看看圣经里面的例子。
Think about Noah.
想想挪亚，
Do you think what he did was crazy?
你们认为挪亚当时做的事情， 是很疯狂的吗？
If God came to you and said, build a big boat,
如果上帝来到你面前说，哎，你建一个大船吧，
I'm going to flood the entire world,
我会用洪水淹没整个世界，
and only the people on the boat will survive,
只有在这个船上的人能够幸存下来，
what would you think?
你会怎么想？
Yeah.
觉得很滑稽？
Would you sit there and immediately go, yes, I'll do it?
你会直接就说，哎，好，我就去做。
Or would you think, oh, that's crazy?
你会认为是比较疯狂的，
But Noah obeyed.
不会去顺服。
People, the community around him mocked him.
周围的人会愚弄嘲笑你。
And so when the community mocks him, do you think he wanted to give up?
当周围的人嘲笑他的时候，你认为他会放弃吗？
I would think probably yes.
我认为我可能会。
There's always a moment when you want to give up when you walk by faith.
总有这么一个时刻你会想着去放弃，在信心中。
I have never met anyone who did not want to give up at some point.
我从来没有遇到一个人，从来没有想放弃过。
But Noah ultimately did not give up.
很显然，诺亚没有放弃。
And I know for myself, I'm thankful he didn't. Imagine if he did not give up. Or imagine if he gave up.
想象一下如果你放弃或者你不放弃，
We might not be here.
我们可能就不会在这里了。
Because Noah would have been among the people who were killed.
有可能所有的人都已经被灭绝了。
And what about Abraham and Sarah?
那亚伯拉罕和撒拉又如何呢？
God told Abraham to leave his country and to go to a place that he had no idea where he was going.
上帝告诉亚伯拉罕，让他离开他所住的地方，到一个他也不知道去到哪里的地方。
He left everything,
他放下所有的，
took his family,
带着他的家人
and went.
离开了。
Did not know where he was going, just following God's direction.
他们不知道他们会去哪里，他们只是跟从上帝的指向。
God told Sarah she would have a son.
上帝告诉撒拉说，你会有一个儿子。
And years and years and years went by and no son.
一年的过去了，他们还是没有。
So Sarah did other things to try and give Abraham a son.
然后撒拉就做另外一件事情，想要给亚伯拉罕一个儿子。
And then at 90 years old, God says, you're going to have a son.
当你90岁的时候，上帝跟你说，哎，你将会有一个儿子。
And what was her response?
他会怎么去反应？
She laughed.
他笑了。
I'm 90 years old. Now God's going to give me a son.
已经90岁了，然后上帝说，他要给我一个儿子。
For you ladies, imagine being 90 years old and pregnant.
你们能够想象吗？
My wife would not want to be pregnant at 90.
至少我的妻子不会这么想。
But God provided.
但是上帝还是供应。
That son was part of the heir of Abraham and the promise of God to Israel.
这个儿子是上帝对亚伯拉罕的应许。
So when everyone else thought it was not going to happen, God still provided.
当我们当一些事情没有发生的时候，上帝仍然在供应。
And when I think of Sarah's laugh, when she laughed at God for saying that,
我想到撒拉当听到上帝的应许的时候，他笑的那个场景。
my initial response was, well, how is that faith?
我最开始的反应是，这如何是信心呢？
And I don't know that, I think in the moment, sure, there's some unbelief, and that's why she laughed.
我认为这是因为他当时在没有信心当中，所以他笑。
But then I started thinking about her whole life.
然后我尝试去想象他的整个的人生经历。
When God told Abraham to go, Sarah also went.
当上帝告诉亚伯拉罕说你离开的时候，然后撒拉也顺从了。
Sarah had to have some level of faith to follow Abraham.
撒拉有一定的信心，他能够去跟着亚伯拉罕。
So I do believe she has a history in her life of faith.
所以我很确信他有一些关于信心方面的经历。
And so God blessed the promise he gave her because she did have faith in her life.
上帝给他所应许的，是因为他在他的生命当中的确有这种信心的。
Faith that God would fulfill his promises.
这种信心是基于他们对上帝会实现他的诺言的一个信心。
And a part of that promise was an heir to Abraham.
or
a son for Abraham.
这种信心是基于他们上帝会给亚伯拉罕一个后代。
But God delayed the gift until Sarah was 90. So think of Moses.
然后想一想摩西。
So Moses was raised up by Pharaoh's wife.
摩西是从小被法老的女儿养大。
And protecting a fellow Jew, he killed a soldier.
为了保护他的犹太弟兄，他杀了埃及的士兵。
And then had to run for his life.
然后要为他的生命而逃亡。
Over time, God called him to go back.
经常上帝过了一段时间，上帝不知道他回去。
So imagine yourself, God gives you a call to go to, I don't know what in Sweden, what you call a prime minister or president, or let's say go to Donald Trump.
我不知道，当上帝呼召我们去说，你要向你们的领袖、总统或者去说一些事情的时候。
And you're to go to the leader of the free world and say, "Let my people go."
跟这个世界的王说，让我们的人民离开吧。
And of course, he doesn't. He laughs at you.
当然肯定他会嘲笑你。
So every time you return, you say, God said this is going to happen. This plague is going to happen if you do not let my people go.
当你跟这些君王说，你要让我们的人民离开，要不然的话，我们会有这些事情发生，或者这些瘟疫发生。
Just think how nervous you would be if you had to stand in front of someone like that and say those things.
想象一下，当你在这种人面前的时候，你会多么紧张，然后还要去说这些事情。
I don't think Moses had a lot of people who were encouraging him to do it.
我相信但是摩西身边会有很多人去鼓励他。
And in fact, Israel was complaining the whole time he was doing it.
而且那些以色列人就是一直在抱怨。
Because Pharaoh kept making it worse for them.
他会让他的这种信心会更加糟糕。
Every time God brought destruction in some form, Pharaoh would respond negatively.
每次当上帝用一些灾难的时候，法老总是会负面的去回应。
And multiple times God said to Pharaoh, to Moses, go to Pharaoh and tell them this is going to happen if he does not let your people go.
每次上帝让摩西去对法老说，如果你不答应的话，你就会发生什么事情。
I haven't counted, but does anybody know how many times God told Pharaoh? 10 times? That's what I thought. So 10 times.
10次这样的事情。
Imagine the 8th time.
想象一下，当第8次的时候
God says, I'm going to deliver my people. Now go say this to Pharaoh.
然后上帝又说，我要拯救我的子民，去跟法老再去说。
And still, Pharaoh does not let the people free.
仍然法老没有让。
Do you think discouragement would come.
你会认为这种灰心丧气会临到吗？
I think there would be a level of discouragement for me.
我会认为对我来讲会有一些灰心。
But Moses kept returning.
但是摩西仍然回去跟法老。
He had some level of faith to believe that God was going to fulfill the promise.
他的信心在一定的高度。
And ultimately, Pharaoh let them go out of frustration.
他相信法老最终会让他的民众离开。
And then they get to the river.
然后他们来到那个红河的时候，
And he's supposed to lead the people across the river.
他要领导他的以色列人去过这个红海。
Supposed to just stick the staff in the water and cross.
想象一下，当你在这个过红海的过程当中，两边都有海水在那里像潭一样。
Just imagine someone's going to lead us to that water out there and stick a stick in the water.
想象一下，有人如果领导我们走这条路的话，
And somehow we're going to cross to the other side.
有时候我们必须得去到另外一个地方。
None of this is logical.
这些都不是很合情合理。
But God made the water part.
但是上帝让他们水分开了。
They crossed, and God destroyed the enemy behind them.
他们过了红海，上帝也消灭了那些敌人。
And then I think of the last Bible example will be Stephen in the New Testament.
在新约里面有一个叫斯蒂凡。
I never thought about Stephen and faith until now.
我以前从来没有想过斯蒂凡的关于信心方面的。对。
But as he's being accused of blasphemy by the religious leaders,
对于属灵领袖来说，这是必须要面对的。
and they're wanting to put him to death.
他们想要让斯蒂凡判他死刑。
He sees Christ standing at the right hand of God.
他看到耶稣站在上帝的右边。
So in faith, he declares what he sees. He's the only one who sees it, but he declares it to everyone around him.
没有他看到了，但是他向所有人都看到了。
And then the result was they killed him.
他的结果就是要面对别人判他死刑。
But the point is, he knew he was real, and he was there, and he was watching over him.
他确信的是，他一定能够到达那个地方。
So regardless of the result, he declared what he saw.
他对于他的信心，他宣告了，他看到了。
And so, you know, then I started thinking about people I know today, some examples of maybe that would relate even closer to us in our experiences.
当我看到我们当今的一些例子的时候，
You know, there's one brother from Africa that when I think of faith, he is always the first person that comes to mind.
有一个非洲的弟兄，每当我想到信心的时候，他总是第一个出现在我的脑海里。
He's a brother that that lives in China.
他现在在中国服侍。
And his story, it convicts me when I think about it and when I hear him talk.
他的信心总是会鼓励我。
He comes from the poorest country in Africa.
他来自非洲最穷的国家。
His goal in life was to get Ethiopian people to go as missionaries around the world.
他的工作是帮助埃塞俄比亚人去向全世界传福音。
So he went to Singapore and got his seminary education.
他到新加坡取得同样的升学。
He returned home to teach and mobilize his people.
他回到他的国家，然后教导。
The problem is no one was going.
问题是没有人愿意去。
And then he realized, I haven't gone.
但是他始终认为他有上帝。
For him, going to Singapore did not count.
因为你去新加坡，这也不算什么。
So he decided he needed to take his family to the mission field and get experience first.
然后他就决定，他要带着他的家庭去做这种福音工作。
So they went to a Muslim country.
他们去到穆斯林国家
and served for several years.
在那里服侍了几年。
They returned back to their home country.
回到他的国家。
And then God called them to China.
然后上帝就呼召他去中国。
One of the things he knew God wanted him to do was to only be supported by his home church or his own people.
他知道就是他要去上帝呼召他仅仅是到他自己的教会自己的。
And he says that the history of his country is they rely so much on money from the outside world, from churches outside of their own country.
他看到的是他的国家的教会就是过多的去依赖外在教会的一些经济支持。
So he knew to go, he needed to trust God that God would provide through his own people.
他这个是对他对上帝信心，上帝会供应他们让他们自己人供应自己。
And 10 years later, they're still serving.
10年之后，他们仍然在服侍。
Remember, this is what he says. His words to me were, "This is I come from the poorest country on the continent of Africa."
我来自最穷的非洲国家。
He says his own people don't believe they have the money to give to missions.
他们自己的人都不相信他有足够的资金来供应他们的服侍。
Several years ago, his family went back to their home country to rest for about a year.
几年之后，他们整个家庭回到他的国家，然后休养了一段时间。
And in the middle of the rest, God called them to go speak to all these churches around their country.
他们在休养的过程当中，上帝突然呼召他们去向所有的教会。
Even though he was working, he says it was very restful for them to do this.
尽管他在不停的在工作，尽情的工作，但是他仍然觉得很得到安息。
Because before they left, their churches had given over $300,000 US in cash.
当他离开的时候，他教会给了3000美金。30万美金。
And they had committed over the next 2 years to give over $2 million US.
然后他们承诺要给200万。
Again, the poorest country in Africa.
在非洲最穷的国家里。
And God is doing these amazing things over there.
上帝在做这么奇妙的事情。
And then most recently, I have some friends in China that have gone through a very difficult situation.
最近我有很多朋友在中国会遇到一些很有挑战性的事情。
She worked for a very difficult employer.
他们为一些很挑剔的雇主工作。
Unfortunately, the employer they were Christians.
不幸的是，这些雇主也是基督徒。
So after several years of patiently working in this environment, she finally quit her job.
在几年的这种没有激情的去工作中，但是他最后还是放弃了。
Of course, to stay in China as a foreigner, we need some reason to be there, right?
当然，我们作为一个外国人在中国做工，我们需要给出一些合理的理由。
So before their visa was to be dissolved and they would forced to leave, they had 10 days to find something.
当他们的签证过去的时候，他们有10天的时间可以找到一些事情。
Now, I don't know your experience in China, but my experience in China is 10 days not enough for anything.
我不知道你们的经历，但对我经历而言，10天
You can barely get a yes in 10 days when you're trying to get something official.
10天仅仅有可能仅仅你能只得到一个是，然后再去申请一些正式的。
But they knew God had finally called them away from the job, but that they knew God was going to keep them in China.
他们知道是上帝让他们离开这个工作，但是他们同样也确信上帝让他们。
She had to step in faith and quit her job before she could find a new job.
但是他必须要坚持他的这个信心，在没找到工作之前就离职。
And so we were making plans for where they're going to go, what country they need to go to, because 10 days is not enough time in China.
10天时间在中国来说是完全不够的，他们必须得要去。
But in 10 days, God provided a new job.
但是10天之内，上帝就给他们供应了新的工作。
With a supervisor who is perfect for them.
有一个对他们来说有一个很完美的领导。
Oh, and they had to move at the same time.
同时他们也要搬家。
Because previous housing was owned by the employer. So they needed a new house.
他们以前住的地方是他们以前的那个老户主提供的。
To do all this in 10 days is generally impossible. Huh? Yes.
这些事情能够完全是一个奇迹神迹。
So by trusting God, God provided a new job, a temporary apartment, and then He provided the money through the employer for a new apartment that the employer is looking for right now.
仅仅10天的时间，他们换了房子，换了工作，然后也得到了资金，能够支持他们新的住所。
And their visa was transferred in time.
同样，他们的签证也下来了。
Now, for those of you who've never had to deal with visas in China, that is a miracle.
你们
For all that to happen in 10 days.
你们如果没有这种申请签证的经验的话，这种10天得到这个签证，简直是个神迹，在中国。
You know, I struggle with whether I'll share this. This will be my last example, but I don't like to talk about myself. But I kept coming to mind my first trip to China.
我对这个例子我也犹豫，是因为关于是我自身的经历。
19 years ago this summer.
19年前。
To go, I had to quit my job.
19年前我要去到中国，我必须得离开我现在的工作，做我以前的工作。
I'm not recommending that you quit your job to go for a short trip.
我并不建议我并不提倡你们辞掉工作，然后去待一个很短的一个时间。
But in my situation, to obey God meant I needed to quit my job so I could go.
但是要顺服上帝，我必须得离开我的工作。
I loved my job. It paid well. It was exactly what I wanted to do. I did not want to give it up.
我很喜欢我的工作，我也报酬也很好，工作我也很喜欢。
Everyone thought I was crazy.
所有人都认为我是疯了。
But I knew God had said to go, I needed to quit.
但是我知道上帝让我去传福音，我必须得离开我现在的工作。
So I quit and I went.
然后我就离职了，我去了。
But what I didn't know is the reason for quitting. God was going to do something with my life I never imagined.
但我确信的是，上帝会让我的人生会完全让我超出我的想象。
Because there was one conversation I had on that trip that changed everything for me.
在其中有一次的交谈中，完全改变了。
And I really believe that conversation is why I'm even standing here today.
而且我最近那次旅行中的交谈，也对我今天能够站在这边有一个很大的支持。
But trusting God with the results, I've seen God do amazing things in China, India, Nepal.
相信上帝在各个不同的国家会有一些奇妙的事情。
A couple of weeks ago in Pakistan, our organization had someone there, and what God did through that trip that is leading him to live in that country was a miracle in what happened.
最近就是有一个人巴基斯坦。
And if I didn't step in faith, I never would have met my wife.
如果我不在信仰中站立，我绝不会遇到我的现在的太太。
So my whole life today would be completely different if I had disobeyed God.
如果我不顺从上帝的话，我现在的生活会完全不一样。
Now, my life might have been a little bit more comfortable. I would have had probably more money, but I would have been disobedient.
在我的音乐当中，我也是需要一些金钱，但是我更多的是需要去顺服。
But the one thing my life wouldn't be if I was disobedient was as fulfilling as it is today.
如果我没有顺服，我的使命就不会像现在这样。
And I promise you, if you spoke to these friends of mine that I talked about, they would say the same thing to you.
我向你保证的是，你跟我的朋友聊天，他们会说同样的事情。
The relief on my friends right now who are experiencing the difficult employer, just the relief God is giving them and the rest God is giving them, wouldn't have happened if they had disobeyed and kept the job out of safety.
如果他们不顺服上帝而是保证他们工作的话，他们就不会有更多的自由。
My African friend, the things God has done through him, he's already mobilized a number of Chinese people who are serving across Africa right now.
那个非洲朋友他已经帮助了很多。
And all those missionaries out of China would not be in Africa if my friend had been disobedient.
如果很多福音工作都不要在中国开展，如果我的朋友没有顺服的话。
And so I share these things because I hope that God would use those examples, those stories, those testimonies of our brothers and sisters to encourage and challenge you.
我用这些例子是想让来鼓励和挑战你们。
To think about your life. Are you living a regular life like a non-Christian just with a Christian face? Or are you living by faith and following Christ in obedience?
你是想要去做一个非基督徒，但是有一些基督徒的信仰。
Because when I think about that, if you go a few verses down to Hebrews 11, verse 6.
当你看希伯来书11章6节的时候
，it says, "Without faith, it is impossible to please God."
他说人非有信不能取悦上帝，得神的喜悦。
Faith is vital in our Christian life.
信心对我们基督徒来说是非常重要的。
Not just in believing Jesus and, as Paul said last night, going to heaven.
并不是说相信基督就会去天堂。
So many of us, I think we believe, well, I have faith because I believe Jesus, and that's enough.
很多人认为我只要相信耶稣，那就够了。
That's enough for salvation, I agree.
那就是我得到救恩了。
But it's not everything God has called us to.
但不是说我们要去顺服上帝。
He's called us to follow him, to believe him, and to trust him.
上帝呼召我们去顺服他，去跟从他。
He's called us all to make disciples.
他呼召我们多做门徒。
And so we have a question to answer.
我们要去回答一些问题。
Will we be obedient?
你是要顺服
and live by faith in obedience as we follow Christ?
或者不顺服
Or will we be disobedient and just live a normal life as any person in the world?
或者不顺服的，就像其他的外邦人一样，没有信仰的人，不信基督的人。
Let's pray.
让我们来一起祷告。
Father, we want your name to be glorified.
天父，我们希望你的名能够被荣耀。
And I pray, Father, that because your Holy Spirit is inside of us,
主要我向你祷告，因为我们的圣灵，
that you would show us where we are being disobedient.
你会感受我们如果不顺服的时候会是什么样，
And show us how to be obedient in following you by faith.
然后能够展示我们应该如何去顺服。
And for those who are obedient and following you right now,
对于那些弟兄姊妹，现在他们仍然在顺服和服从你的时候，
then I pray you would strengthen and encourage them as they continue to walk with you.
我祈求你能够继续的给鼓励，加添他们力量，在信心中前行。
And that you would show your glory in the work that you're doing through them.
你通过他们的工作来彰显你的荣耀。
In Jesus' name, amen.
祷告奉主耶稣基督的名，阿门。
好，我们感谢主，休息一会儿，我们就吃早餐，然后早堂是4位传道讲啊。那感谢主，今天Steve 给我们一个很好的一个圣经的一个展示，他自己生命的见证，也让我们能够看见信心跟我们基督生命的关系到底是什么。人非有信不能得神的喜悦。其实你没有信心，你不要说得不到神的喜悦，你自己过得不快乐。你没信心，你肯定过得不快乐，你总是在忧愁当中度过你的分分秒秒。所以你今天坐的这个座位上，你坐之前，你要想着我要计算一下有多重多轻，能不能承受这个，就不要活了。所以信心真是我们生命当中，不要说相信上帝，就是每天我们生活都必须要走的信心之路。人一出生就要有信心的相信，这是我妈妈，这是我爸爸。所以金毅和何昭的孩子叫你爸爸妈妈没有？还没开始吧？还没，快了啊，快了。等到1岁左右的时候，就会叫爸爸妈妈。他需要这一年的时间呢，去经历你们，体会你们。可能没有去做 DNA 的查验，就管你叫妈了，就管你叫爸了。信心其实就是我们每天生活好像水，好像空气一样融入在我们的生命里面。我们感谢神让 Steve 给我们的信息真是能够鼓励我们，让我们其实活在信心当中。当然，信心的对象只能是对准神，离开了神，信心也会迷失方向。好，那跟大家报告一下啊，师母，你那个鞋子不能穿进来啊，要放到外边去啊， 因为这有个营规，我好像发现你没把鞋子放到外边去，要把鞋子放到外边，要不它减少打扫的工作，所以大家进来的时候把鞋子放到外边，这是一个。再有就是下午的时间呢，我们没有安排，就是什么样的节目，但是我们其实也有安排。那我今天下午呢是约了 Sarah 和阿石，他们也是刚刚结婚。你们知道去年还没有结婚，在营会里认识的，所以给他们有一个婚姻辅导呀。那你们弟兄姐妹如果是愿意找讲员，有一些时间你们自己约，那早一点约你早一点约到了。那希望下午的时间你们是 free to get teaching， 呀，得到 advice， 得到 counselor， 就是你自己要在神的面前求。所以上帝把那么多好的讲员带到我们当中来。我们要主动抓住这个机会，好不好？那合照还有什么事要报告？
就是早餐之后大家注意自己打扫的那个排序，自己属于哪个。然后今天早餐吃完之后，请大家帮忙打扫，谢谢大家。
呀，大家知道谁是什么组，都在那个营册上都有啊。
对，
每个人都在营册上面有组，然后你看看。如果要打扫的时间是哪一个组，那你就在这个组当中去完成自己的一些责任和义务。好，那我们就吃早餐了，是吧？做一个谢饭祷告，我们就一起吃早餐。主耶稣，谢谢你，让我们有新的一天。我们在这新的一天，有你所赐给我们的日用的饮食，我们献上感谢。主，求你洁净加上祝福。我们将祷告是奉耶稣基督得胜的名求，阿门。感谢天父赐我日用的饮食，一早一饭不容易，有吃食